Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will look into how we can have multiple login sessions in Finvasia, where we can do all the actions like placing orders, getting positions, getting order book and more in both the sessions. Before that, I want to explain a little on why Finvasia has this model. Like if you compare with Zerodha has an access token which is valid for the whole day. But in Finvasia, it's based on session token which is valid for only that session. That means if we close the program or if we log out, that session will be terminated and we have to create a new session to trade. Now that we have covered the part, let's see what are the credentials we need to log into API. We need user ID, password, TOTP token, API key, vendor code, and IMEI number. All these credentials I believe will be available in Prism website of Finvasia. Once you have copied all the credentials, we'll go to login.py. I've imported some necessary packages we need. The Norin API is the official Python SDK wrapper by Shoonya. I've also imported logging, which is used to keep track of events in the code. And I've also imported PyOTP, which we'll use to generate TOTP to login. I've also imported time and credentials as keys. Now let's create the entry point for the code, that is if name is equal to main, and we'll call the main function. Now let's create the main function. In the main function, I've copied some code from the API documentation which creates a global instance of the API which will let us use the methods from the SDK wrapper. Once the API global instance is created, we can call login function, which is login status is equal to api.login. And if you can see, this login function accepts multiple parameters like user ID, password, 2FA, vendor code, API secret, and IMEI number. We'll pass all these credentials to this login function. The first credential we need is user ID. We'll say user ID is equal to keys dot user ID, and we'll import all the other credentials in the same way. Once the API login function is called, we'll get a response back. Let's see what is this response structure in API documentation. If you see the response structure, we can see there's a S user token element. We want to extract this from the response in our code. We can do that by creating a new variable called S user token, and we'll get the response get the S user token. Once we have extracted the user token, we'll save this in a token.txt file. The reason we are doing this is because we'll create a new instance using this user token. Now let's print the login status with some details. Once that is done, let's create a while loop. While true, we will get the syntax LTP, which is api.getCode, and we'll print this LTP. After this is done, we'll give time.sleep for a second. What this is doing is the while loop will run continuously for every second until the program is stopped. The main functionality of login is done. Now let's run this program and confirm everything is working fine. I'll open a new terminal and run this file. Once I run the program, we can see user token is printed and syntax LTP data is printed every second. And we can also see there was a new token.txt file created. If you go to the file, we can see our user token is saved. Now let's go to the second file where we'll create a new instance of our current running session and run the same while loop and print the LTP. The goal here is to have both the instances running. In the second login file, I'll just paste the code here and explain it, as almost all the code is same as the parent login file. I pasted the code. The difference in this file is that we are reading the user token from token.txt file which was created in login.py file, and instead of using api.login, we are using api.setSession, which will extend the parent session, essentially creating two successful instances. We have the same while loop to show both instances are running successfully. Now let's go to a terminal. I'll split the terminal to show you guys how both login.py file and second login.py file run. I'll run the first file. Now I'll run the second file. As you guys can see, both the instances are running successfully. A thing to keep in mind, we have to run the login.py file first because that's where we are creating the session token, and that session is consumed in the second file. We can also create as many sessions as we want, but keep in mind creating each instance may essentially slow down the response time. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you guys like it. See you guys in the next one.